Hi there, I'm Randy Patterson, and this is Psychology Salon, a channel about psychological issues. If you like this kind of thing, click subscribe. In this series, I've been asking the question, how do we steer our lives? How do we decide what to do, moment to moment and year to year? What's our best guide? I've suggested that there are 5 compasses we can use, and I've talked about 3 of them already. Impulse. What do I feel like doing? What draws me toward it? This is the compass that our culture most promotes, and it seems to be the one most likely to lead us into unhappiness. Second, expectation. What do other people, what does our society expect or demand of us? It's easy to react against this one, as it implies that we're going to be controlled by everybody else. But obeying most laws is generally a good idea, and the principles of social interaction that we think of as manners help people in a crowded society get along with one another. Expectation may not be the best guide in a lot of situations, however. Deciding on a career, living a certain way just because everyone else is doing that, and denying who you are as a person. The third compass is maybe the most useful. Values. What's important to you? What do you want your life to be about? This leads us into important questions that I think many of us neglect. In this video, I'd like to focus on a 4th compass, goals. We often talk about goals and values in the same breath. What are your goals and values? And in fact, it wouldn't be altogether unreasonable for me to combine the 2 and talk about 4 compasses instead of 5. I've separated them here because values seem to talk about overarching long-term aims and principles. But the way in which those play out from moment to moment can be a bit obscure. How can I make this trip to the grocery store a manifestation of who I am as a person? If we use a road trip metaphor, our values might point us toward Montreal. But at the next traffic light, do we turn right or left? Our goals are the specific actions that we need to take to move ourselves forward. And when we talk about goals, we usually talk about 2 kinds. Ultimate goals are outcomes that we've decided to work toward, like being able to bench press 200 pounds. Immediate goals are things we can do this week that might take us one step toward those ultimate goals, like getting to the gym on Thursday. We might choose our goals partly by our values, but when we're deciding what to do this week, we generally sharpen those up into specific outcomes and actions. If my value is to be considerate, and I go around just thinking, let's be considerate, that might help, but it might also be so vague that nothing actually changes. If I set the goal of visiting my sick friend in hospital this afternoon, that clarifies things. I'm not sure I can become globally considerate. But can I get over to the hospital? Yes. Imagine a person who really holds the value of loving his children. Terrific. But did you pay your child support this month? Did you show up at the school play? Did you help them repair their bicycle? If not, then maybe this value you have doesn't actually count for much. If a value doesn't find expression in behavior, then maybe it's more of a self-delusion than a value. Or it's a value that just isn't getting translated into behavior. What's another example? Well, I might have a value in education, in expanding my scope of knowledge and skill. But what kind of knowledge? From this, I might choose the goal of learning conversational French. And from there, I might get the immediate goal of registering for the French class at the community center this week. As well, some of my goals may have pretty tangential relationships with any of my values. I need to get the snow tires on the car. What value is that? Safety, maybe? consideration of the other drivers I might smack into if I forget. It's really more of a goal than a value. I need to buy a new printer. What value is that? Some of our goals are governed by values, others by practicality. The goals we set, our to-do list, if you like, make a good compass. Do I feel like looking at printers at the store? Not really. Will I? Yes. It needs to happen, so I will do it. And I will probably be glad I did. Personally, I realize that there are so many bits and pieces to my life that I will never remember them if I don't write them down. So I have a list of my immediate goals that I write down every week. If I think of something that needs to get done and that I can't do right away, I make sure to add it to the list. If I think about what controls my life, as much as anything, it's that list of goals, which kind of sounds bad. This book is my boss. But who's the boss of the book? I am. It's how I get done what I decide on and what I want to do. Nobody else gets to write in the book. I teach therapists how to work with goal setting in therapy, and I encourage clients to use goal setting principles to get traction in their lives and produce real change, if that's what they're working toward. It really helps. And there's more detail with that than I can go into here, but suffice to say that your immediate goals are really where your intentions get translated into reality. Your goals are influenced by the other compasses. If my longing and impulse is to see the hockey game on the weekend, I might make a note of it on my goal list so that I don't forget. Impulses become goals. If society tells me to submit my quarterly tax payment this week, I'll add it to my goal list. Social expectations become goals. And if I value being a good friend and I know someone has been ill, I might write a reminder to myself to check in with them. Values become goals. So these different compasses don't always point in different directions, and the same actions on my part might serve several functions. But in a lot of life, we have to choose which compass to follow. Occasionally, for example, my life gets so complicated that the tasks I've set for myself are overwhelming. There's just too many things to get done. At that point, I need to return to my value of personal peace and living a sustainable life. And I may need to intervene in my goal list, looking at some of the responsibilities I've taken on or been handed by somebody else and get rid of some of them. I think of this as being like pruning an apple tree. You plant the thing and you try to get it to grow and develop, but at some point it gets so overgrown that it needs to be cut back. If you do not prune an apple tree, or most fruit trees, it stops bearing fruit. If you want apples, you have to stop the tree from sending hundreds of runners everywhere. You have to trim things back. Life sometimes does this for us. You wreck your knee, so now you can't ski anymore. That cuts off that branch of your life, which you might regret, but it can also open up space for something else to grow. But sometimes we need to haul out the pruners and start cutting things back ourselves. I don't have time to do that anymore. I need to get myself off the committee, or whatever. As well, an exclusive focus on the goals of the moment can mean that we get lost in the trees. We spend so much time racing from grocery store to car repair to team meeting to soccer practice to work project that we lose sight of our values altogether. Every so often, we need to step back from the detail and take a look at the whole orchard. Get some perspective. And at that point, we can look again at our values and recalibrate. So values without goals are just fantasies. Goals without values can be just busy work. I've talked about 4 compasses, but there is a 5th, reality. And I'll talk about that one in the next video. There are other videos on this channel on the psychology of everyday life. Click the subscribe button for more. I also have an online course site, psychologysalon.teachable.com, with programs for professionals and for the general public. And my books, How to Be Miserable, 40 Strategies You Already Use, How to Be Miserable in Your 20s, and the Assertiveness Workbook are available from online booksellers. Thanks for watching.